Hello, my name is Dr. Arav Singh, and this is the journey of a boy who was born with nothing but dreams and walked barefoot toward a life he could hardly imagine. I was born on a stormy August night in 1997 in a forgotten corner of India, a tiny, nameless village called Bhairavpur, buried deep in the parched northern plains. Our village had no proper roads, no school beyond the 8th grade, and no hospital to speak of. Children were born not under fluorescent lights, but beneath flickering oil lamps, their first lullaby the sound of monsoon winds howling through bamboo fences. There were no doctors, no nurses, no sterile rooms, only midwives with calloused hands and unshakable faith, women who had delivered dozens of babies by instinct and tradition. I came into the world on a dirt floor, wrapped not in a blanket, but in a piece of my mother's old sari. That night, lightning cracked the sky like an omen. But my mother said she didn't feel fear, only hope. Hope that her firstborn son might live a different life than the one she and my father had endured. We lived in a mud brick hut that could barely keep the rain out. During storms, the tin roof would rattle like a drum, and water would leak in from every direction. I remember the musty smell of wet earth mixing with kerosene smoke, the sound of frogs croaking under the bed, the way we huddled together when the night turned cold. We had no car, not even a bicycle, no refrigerator, no electricity most days. Even a ceiling fan was a luxury beyond imagination. Our meals were simple: rice, lentils, sometimes just salt and roti. Yet, even in our poverty, there was something that burned quietly in our home, an invisible flame called hope. My parents were illiterate but not ignorant. My father, thin and dark from years under the sun, carried bricks on his back for contractors who paid him just enough to survive. His fingers were rough, his skin weathered like cracked leather. But he never complained. He taught me dignity through silence. My mother had eyes that could read a person's soul, though she couldn't read a sentence. She sold vegetables in the village hut, haggling over a few rupees with a kind of quiet determination only a mother could wield. She wore the same sari until the fabric faded, her feet calloused from walking barefoot to the market each day. But every coin she earned she counted not in value, but in possibility. They had no degrees, no titles, no backup plan. But they had something far more powerful, a dream. A dream that their son, me, might grow up to write his own fate rather than inherit theirs. That dream became my burden, my blessing, and eventually my reason for everything. I still remember the feel of cracked earth under my bare feet on the way to school. I didn't have shoes until I was 13. Every step I took was a silent promise to myself. One day, I will walk into a hospital, not as a patient, but as a doctor. Every school year began with the same silent fear. Will I have clothes to wear? Will I carry books in my hands again instead of a school bag? My uniform was patched and faded. My bag was a plastic sack. My books were old, borrowed, or torn. And yet, when I opened a science textbook, it felt like entering another world, one where hunger and hardship didn't exist. Electricity came and went, mostly went. I studied by candlelight or the dim light of a kerosene lamp. I pronounced English words out loud, not knowing if I was saying them right. I had no one to correct me, but I repeated them anyway, hundreds of times, because every word I learned was a step closer to freedom. There were days I went to school with nothing in my stomach but determination. Some classmates had lunch boxes filled with treats. I had dry chapati and sometimes nothing at all. I learned how to hide my hunger with a smile. I learned how to listen more and talk less. I came first in my class most years, not because I was smarter, but because I had no other option. In class 10, my science teacher told me, "Arav, you should become a doctor." Those words became oxygen to my dying faith. But dreams are expensive, and we had no money. My father sold his bicycle to buy me entrance exam books. My mother skipped meals so I could eat during exams. The more they gave up, the harder I studied. Day the world shifted. I still remember the moment I saw my medical entrance exam result. I was standing outside a dusty cyber cafe. The screen showed my name, selected for a government medical college in the city. My legs shook, my eyes blurred. I cried quietly into my shirt, but my happiness was short-lived. How would I afford the college admission, the uniform, the travel? Then something miraculous happened. The village gathered. A teacher gave 500 rupees. A shopkeeper donated a second-hand suitcase. A temple priest gave me bus fare. Even children offered coins. The people who had nothing gave me everything. When I reached college, I felt like I had entered another universe. Everyone spoke fluent English. They used words I had never heard before. Diagnosis, anatomy, residency. I felt small, unfit, and out of place. But I didn't let that defeat me. I stayed quiet in class, took detailed notes, and at night I studied alone, translating words with a donated dictionary. I watched medical videos on YouTube with subtitles. I read medical books twice, once to understand the content and once to learn the English. I didn't just study medicine, I studied language, resilience, and human nature. During holidays, I couldn't go home. My village was too far, and we couldn't afford the travel. While my classmates visited their families, I worked at clinics to earn money, cleaning floors, organizing patient files, and sometimes even sleeping on benches. One night, while revising for an exam, I realized something strange. I was no longer translating thoughts from Hindi into English. I was thinking in English. It was slow, but it was happening. "This is progress," I whispered. "This is fluency, not just in language, but in life." I began to help juniors with English terms. I practiced speaking in front of the mirror. I used my voice recorder to hear my pronunciation and fix it. English was no longer my enemy. It was becoming my tool. The day I became Dr. Arav Singh. 6 years after I walked barefoot into my first classroom, I stood at the graduation ceremony of a government medical college, wearing a borrowed blazer and a borrowed stethoscope. When I heard my name announced as Dr. Arav Singh, I didn't walk, I floated. My parents couldn't be there, but I video called them after the ceremony. My mother sobbed and said only one sentence: "You have broken the curse of poverty, Beta." I didn't just earn a degree. I earned dignity, identity, and a voice. A doctor. With a mission today, I serve in a rural hospital not far from the kind of village I came from. Every time I treat a child with no shoes, I see myself. Every time I hear broken English from a patient, I speak gently, because I know the courage it takes. I teach others how to dream. I teach them to study English not as a school subject, but as a key to a bigger life. Because English is not just grammar and vocabulary. It's the language of access, access to education, to confidence, to the world. Your story begins now. If you're struggling to learn English or struggling to survive, remember this: you don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. You don't need to be rich. You need to be relentless. You don't need the best start. You need a strong heart. I was barefoot, broke, and broken. But I had belief. So do you. Your journey starts today. What you believe, you become. Keep reading. Keep speaking. Keep dreaming. This was my journey, from barefoot boy to doctor. What will yours be?